Hey, GR8, you want to hear a funny joke? Alright, so check it. What did one math book say to the other? We've got problems. Oh, man.
Ha ha ha, that was horrible. Like really horrible, that was the worst joke I've ever heard. It was so bad that I'd rather run Windows RT than listen to you tell another joke. The next time you plan on telling a joke, power me off, rip out my CPU, take a hammer to my hard drives and throw my carcass out the window. Then I want you to bury my remains 400 feet into the ground and drown me with thermal paste.
What's up everyone, Matthew Monas here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the ASUS GR8 2nd Edition. Now this is a mini PC that's powerful enough for VR, and you're able to play all the latest games comfortably at 1080p. Now it's very small, which is perfect for people in tight spaces or someone who wants to have a PC in their living room. Now listen, before I start the review, I just want to say one thing. I don't want to hear how you can build the exact same PC for $5. I'm sure you can, but not everyone wants to build one, and some just don't have the time to. So with that being said, here's my review. The design is small. It's about the size of an Xbox One or PS4 and weighs around 4 kilograms. It's not your typical square box, but instead starts thick on the bottom and narrows out towards the top. It's very alien-esque with the chiseled lines and RGB lighting in the front. It screams gamer all over it, and I think most people will either really dig the design or be put off by it. For ports, you have two USB 3.0 ports on the front with your audio jacks. On the back, you have another audio jack, a SPDIF out, an Ethernet port, two more USB 3.0 ports, one USB 3.1 Type A port up to 10 gigabits per second, and a USB 3.1 Type C port that also transfers up to 10 gigabits per second. Finally, you have two HDMI ports, one display port, and your power connector. Unfortunately, there is no power supply, so you're stuck with a thick brick instead. Opening up is super easy. There's only 4 screws to remove, and once you're in, you'll notice only a few things are actually upgradable. First is the Micron M2 SSD. It average read and write speeds of 500 megabytes a second. These are typical SSD speeds, but if you want, you can swap it out for an NVMe drive if needed. The same holds true for the 2.5-inch 1 terabyte 7200 RPM HGST drive. The CPU and GPU are both soldered onto the motherboard, so those are not replaceable. There's only one RAM slot that's easily accessible, while the other one is on the other side and takes a bit more work to get to. Now in terms of specs, you can get this with a Core i5 or i7 7700K with up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. The storage drives can also be configured in different speeds and sizes. Now the one area that stays constant is the GPU. It can only be bought with a GTX 1060. This review unit costs $1,200 US, but it starts at $900 for the i5 model. So for those of you that don't know, there's two versions of the GTX 1060, one with 3 gigabytes of VRAM and one with 6 gigabytes. This one comes with 3 gigabytes, so expect a slightly slower card than its more expensive brother. Now this is probably done because the footprint is a bit smaller and the card is easier to fit inside the case. Now with that being said, it's still more than powerful enough to edit 4K video, use VR, and play all the latest games comfortably at 1080p. For example, in Overwatch with settings set to Ultra and the resolution at 1080p, I averaged frame rates of 120 frames per second during bigger battles. The next game I tried was Doom, and with graphics set to high, I averaged frame rates of 75 frames per second with Shadowplay off. Finally, with the Battlefield 1, I was able to hit 80 frames per second with settings set to medium. So the bottom line is solid 1080p performance with settings set from medium to high. There's only one fan inside of this case that pushes the heat upwards and out of the case. It does the job, but the system doesn't stay as cool as I would like it. Under my extreme heat test, I was able to get the CPU to hit temperatures of 94 to 95 degrees Celsius, which is really hot. On the outside, using a heat monitor, it would show temperatures of 40 to 41 degrees Celsius. Now, even under such a hot load, the CPU did not thermal throttle, which means the single fan is doing good enough to get rid of the heat. Just remember that the heat tests I do are always much more strenuous than real life use. Now, in terms of noise, it does get a bit loud when under full load. It's noticeable for sure if you're in a small room. You'll definitely have to turn up the volume on your speakers to mask the noise. Alright, so here's my closing thoughts. The ASUS GR8 II is a fairly small portable PC that's the size of most recent gaming consoles. It's the perfect size for the living room or tight spaces and comes packed with powerful hardware to use with VR and play the latest games comfortably at 1080p. The only downfall is that it gets a bit too hot, the fan's loud, and future upgrades are fairly limited. Now here's the thing, there's obviously bigger desktop PC offerings that will provide a lot more bang for your buck, but for such a small size, it offers a variety of different use cases that you might not be able to get with a bigger PC. Now whether you think the ASUS GR8 II is worth it to you depends on your gaming preferences and your living arrangements. So that wraps up my review of the GR8. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And I'll see everybody in the next video.